now.
Okay.
All right. So I'm really excited that we're doing this. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a while, but I think there's been a lot of movement in both of our
Physical,
lives.
physical, emotional, and spiritual movement.
Yes. Yes. We both have this interesting scenario that there's a lot of things in our lives that have happened at the same time. And yes. So, yeah, so here we are again, where we've both kind of had a little bit of movement, travel, change of many things,
Habitat.
and here we are. So, one of those big changes was now we just had Yontiff, and we were just talking about some of the real challenges of Yontiff. Like, and I felt like we were having a private conversation and I said, I think we should just add it to this because I feel like it's such an important part of, especially starting a new Jewish year, being able to kind of add some of this into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there have been a lot of really great things, but there's some challenges, and some of the challenges for women, and again, it depends on what stage you are at life, because depending on what stage you're at will determine, like, you know, how things gauge. So I went from a place of I'm in a very, very small space hosting many, many people, and I didn't get to do anything but cook and clean and shop and do that many, many times round to the point where like of collapse.
Wow.
There was many joyous moments in that, but it was also a struggle. So that was like my kind of thing. And then Esther, your bit.
So opposite. I have this big space. Nobody's here. I skipped Chag completely and really got to get into my body, but not right away. It took a while. There's so much noise, and then the noise takes, like, for me, 3 days until I'm able to zone in and really hear myself and how I'm feeling in the space and in this time. And in this space and this time, I realized that there is so much electricity around this chagim, and I think that I compared it before I spoke to you about it being like a social media platform. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like everybody is really making it, to me, that's what it looks like. And from my old experience when I used to be religious, and I was on that train of like cooking, menuing, prepping, inviting, hosting, cleaning, and then where is the actual joy of Yontif? Like it became like, oh no, Rosh Hashanah is coming. That means 48 hours of not sleeping. It means so much money in the grocery. It means so much stress. How am I gonna like be nice to my husband and my kids? Where am I in this? And now I am only me with none of that, still feeling the stress of Yantif. Um, and then also missing the actual joy of being with family, the actual joy of disconnecting from everything else and being in this portal called Sukkot. It's a portal because the whole world is flying and you're stopping and you're making intentional things, sitting in a sukkah and bringing back the traditions, bringing back the past and the history and the unity of like what really Judaism was all about. And so I really got to see there's like it's two separate things. It's like
Yeah.
this, just like religion and spirituality is really two separate things, right? I mean, like religious and being Jewish, it's like there's just different sections, right? And they come
Well,
all
it
together.
depends. Yeah, it depends also how people identify with it. Because some people
Right.
identify with, like, let's say Rosh Hashanah as, feeling guilty about everything you've done and throughout the year. And then to some people, it's really connecting in a certain way. And for some people, it could be cooking many meals,
Yeah.
or how much money have you spent, or how hard have you worked, or how selfless have you been, or how
Ooh.
much weight have you gained.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And I feel like it's like, how much of yourself have you lost? And to me, I think that's where this conversation came in. And that's why, like, with us entering into Derech Hashem again, it really grounds us into like the things that really matter. and really like taking that time to be able to really find yourself. And sometimes that's in that quiet space. And where do we find that, and really defining it in that manner. So, yeah. So I think we both,
You
somebody
hear
came.
that?
Nope.
Okay.
You need to go
A
check?
window,
You can go
a
check.
window opened and glass fell down. Okay, it's okay. Not the glass from the window, like drinking
Okay.
glass. It's
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Um, so I think that that's kind of where, and something that you mentioned before, which is something that I could definitely relate to as well, is like there's this kind of not trauma trigger, but like there's those where we know that we're like going into Yontiff and there's going to be this overload of work
Yeah.
um waiting for us. And you even saying that even though it's so quiet, you still feel that kind of past
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
that those kind of that residue that's left from it, which is very
Yeah.
interesting. So I wonder with the world that we live in nowadays, like I'm in Eretz, it's so beautiful here.
Mm.
But I haven't been here for Yontif in a very, very long time, more than 20 years. And to
Wow.
see how some people just show up here, like, and there was so many people from out of town just in the space I was in itself. It felt like a bungalow colony of its
Wow.
own. It was like, I don't know, like 800 families. I think it was like the amount was like I couldn't digest it. But what was interesting to observe was like, yes, being here is beautiful, but then how much, like I'm here not with no choice, but there are reasons that I'm here right now. But like, how much of us are we escaping our own homes, our own, when I say homes, I don't mean the house, but I mean like, how much of us are like looking for something more? When we look for meaning, we're looking for more rather than stripping it down to something a little less and less intense, listening to some of these women like bringing a whole yontif in a suitcase, like frozen food. I don't understand it. It sounds incredible, and I'm not going to comment on it, but just watching the intensity,
Yeah.
which again, some people find beautiful. I feel like for all of us is just peeling back and asking ourselves, and I think after Yontif is a really good time to do that, is really ask yourself what was beautiful and then what would add more meaning, not more intensity. Like meaning doesn't necessarily mean intensity. And I think that that's a huge misconception when it comes to, I guess, high holidays. Like you're supposed to feel intensely and it's like no, you're not supposed to feel intensely. You're supposed to be aligned. And there's a
Mm.
difference. And I think that it's the same way that some people conflict worry and love.
Yeah.
Like they'll use worry instead of love. And I felt like, so this is like a perfect time to really kind of tap back into Derech Hashem
Mm.
and just simplify some of the complexities. Because nowadays, when we have so much available at our fingertips, including emotion, um, how much are we choosing to engage with voluntarily?
Right.
And when we think of the word meaning, like how do we define that? So I think that that's a really important thing to sit with for ourselves and ask yourself when you think of that question, when you think of meaning in itself, does that include you? Right? Because a lot of times, like if I'm sitting here and I'm working on like breath work and I think about the word meaning, it seems to me so detached from my body. If you
Yeah.
talk about alignment, I feel more connected. And so the thing is sometimes when we think of meaning, it's so far out of our grasp when like the basics back to Derech Hashem is like all of it is simple. There is simplicities, it's aligned and it's digestible. So it's just a good thing to kind of look at and reflect on and yeah,
Yeah.
as we move through it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so interesting because like I thought the answer to all this madness, how I look at it sometimes, is just escaping it.
Right.
Just totally skipping it, like erasing it from the calendar. And it's not. It's not because I was also trying to figure out this, to also like peel away the layers and find out like what am I feeling? I'm feeling like I should be doing something different, or I want to. Like this is it a guilt feeling or is it a yearning, like a deep yearning for something that I'm lacking in my life right now in this time? And there was no guilt. There was just emptiness of something, um, something like a deeper meaning, like an alignment, like you're saying.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's not, and but this alignment is not like the same alignment that I'll have like on a regular Tuesday when I go to my yoga class. This is an alignment connecting me to more than just myself. It's more with like I guess my heritage, I don't know, my where I come from, like what's in my bones. And it's not only the stuff that I was taught over and over again until I didn't know if I'm doing it because I want to or because everyone else is doing it and I was told to do it.
Right.
So that's a lot of stuff that was like percolating over the last few days when I had time to myself to think about it.
And when you talked about that, and that's why this, I feel like these kind of conversations are so important because I can relate with you to you on certain levels where like as I hear you talking now, like I feel like part of what I'm hearing and part of for me when the overwhelm shows up is that it's sometimes the experience can be undigestible because there's so much. And
Wow.
not because that's what the holiday is, but because we make it complicated with all the additions that we've added to it, that it becomes so overwhelming that you end up struggling to choose between your own sanity and your practice. And I feel like, and again, that's why this of what we're learning now is so important because it brings us back to like the basics, and we have to like reintroduce ourselves every
Exactly.
single year to our own spirituality and our own connection and ask ourselves and take accountability because at the end of the day we're all adults, and that's the misconception. For some of us we're like, oh, I'm just going to check out, or it's like going shopping and saying it's the store's responsibility to put healthy things into our food, and it's like, no, every time, like you have to keep checking
Love that.
packets, to check what new ingredients have they snuck in there. It was
Yeah.
like a simple thing of like peanut butter. Peanut butter just used to be peanut butter. Now it's like soybean, like there's 1,000 ingredients before the peanut butter itself. And I think that that's kind of what this became. And then for a lot of us, when we look at the experience as like a communal practice, if that's kind of what we're entering, if it's like Simchas Torah and going to shul, because like I find that this time of year, there's so much of like communal participation, right? So we're showing up in more of a public setting. Sometimes it can feel so undigestible, and we could think, oh, it's there, it's everybody else's kind of problem. Meanwhile, we have to kind of step away on that level and say, okay, what's important here? What actually matters? Like a workout, it's like, is it, what I'm saying? Is it important that you should drive an hour and be in some really expensive cardio class? Or is it just important to take a blanket, lay on the floor, and just
Wow.
rest,
Yeah.
And I think that that's the difference where for some of us we're like it's an all or nothing scenario where we're like either I have to spend, for some people it's the 50 and even $100,000 to go to some kind of program or show up in a certain level where we all have the pressure we've put on ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's peeling all that away, I think.
I know, and it's so important
And
because it
yeah,
just pile up so high. Like,
yeah.
where's the end? Like,
Right. So yeah, when you shared that for me, like when you shared that concept of being in a place where you're like, I rather just find myself in this space, I could
yeah,
totally relate to that. I totally understand where you're coming from,
yeah,
you know? And I feel like you're not alone in it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And like I actually like I don't know if I'd want to announce it to the world, because like people can judge like, oh my God, like, she's going off the derech and all that. We have a friend that just her daughter just got engaged, and I'm invited to the Tanoim or whatever, the L'chaim. And I really feel it at this point like that off the derech aunt that comes to this family simchas with the doilies. I don't want to be the doily aunt.
I love that. Yeah. But no, but the thing is, I feel like for every single one of us, when we think of our own spectrum of where we are in our practice, there is a place where we max out. And it's just important to see where that is. And,
Yeah.
you know, if we're trying, I think, these yontifs in general is about building space for abundance and adding more, right? Because we're getting older and it's about what's important and expanding into those spaces. So it's like, how do we put ourselves in the space where we can expand and add, rather than be like, this is too much, I can't do this, and
Right.
be like, okay, how do I find that balance where I'm able to like do the practice and then, yeah, and then,
Exactly, like your analogy with the supermarket, like I right now where I'm up to is actually at the door of the supermarket, and I have to make that conscious decision that I'd like to add some more health into my life without the junk. And
right,
I'm going to the store, but I have to keep on reminding myself because there's the old patterns, right? There's
right,
like I should really be doing more. I should really be putting more effort and creativity and money into and then no. Let's think calm. Let's think
yeah,
what am I looking for? I'm looking for calm. I'm looking for inner peace. I'm not
yeah,
looking for stress. And a lot of things stress me out. So let's maybe stay out of the baking aisle.
yeah. But yeah, so I felt like, and I feel like a lot of people are feeling it. So it's just, we're
Yeah.
saying out loud what people are feeling.
Right.
And yeah, and then it's a question of, you know, um, Jacqueline was sharing that like, every year it's like a spiral and every year it's like the cycle returns.
Yep.
So the
Bigger and
goal is,
better.
yeah, it's so important to make sure that like it's like this is going to show up again. It was interesting over Yontif. I made quite a few notes, like because I'm in a new space, so it's easy for me to like be aware of certain
Mm.
differences. Which as with you as well, you're in that place where there's a lot of newness. So um, I made quite a few notes, and I was like, okay, these are things I really need to work on this year, um, because next year I want to evolve from there. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I felt like yeah, we can. So welcome back, everybody, and I think we can. Yeah. And then, yeah, we can get into it a little bit. And then if we have a few minutes at the end, we can open it up for anyone that wants to jump in and share anything they wanted to.
Okay, great.
So do you want to start? Or do you want me to start? It's up to you.
Oh, I could start. Yeah.
Okay. So let me just remind people where we are up to. So we're still in the first chapter and we're by number 3 when it comes to fundamentals, the purpose of creation. And the goal of this is it's we're kind of diluting this down to a simple level where it's conversation, where me and Esther kind of are being reintroduced to certain concepts um, when it comes to our faith and Hashem and our connection and what that means. So yeah, I guess we can begin.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right. By means of acquiring perfection, this creature becomes fit to cleave to its creator, simply because, though acquiring perfection, it has, in a certain respect, begun to resemble its creator. Moreover, by incorporating elements of perfection into itself, it cleaves to the creator's perfection and is drawn to him continually until, ultimately, its earning of perfection and its bonding in closeness to him are one matter.
Okay. Just continue. What or
I
you
don't
want me
even
to-
know what cleave means.
So
Does it
cleave
have
is
to do with
like
the
to kind of like it to I was gonna go somewhere with that, but we'll it's like a connection of sorts, but like
like to hang
It's
on, to
to
latch on,
attach, to attach.
yeah,
to
to attach.
attach?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. Think of
yeah,
a meat cleaver, you know? Okay.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah,
This is so because God himself is the only true perfection, and all perfection must therefore be associated with him, as a branch is attached to its root. Therefore, even though the root of perfection cannot be attained, all true perfection is ultimately derived and transmitted from the root. Okay.
Okay.
Should I go further?
Um, I think so. I think we can kind of go through it and then we'll discuss it this time because it's yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
If we understand that God alone is the true perfection, it follows that in nature and in creations, every fault is merely the absence of his good and the concealment of his presence. Whoa. Okay. That is, closeness to God and illumination of his presence is the root and cause of every perfection that exists, while concealment of his presence is the root and cause of every fault, the degree of deficiency depending on the degree of this concealment. Okay, so I grew up completely opposite of what this is trying to say, I think.
Okay, well,
And
share. You want to share? Can you share or elaborate on that?
yeah, sure. So when it's saying that there is like not great stuff happening, it means it is the absence of God. It's not like he is making the bad stuff happen. Is that what it's trying to say? Or that's just my
So I think it's more of like, yeah, as in when there's perfection, that's Hashem. Like when you see that there's like the imperfection, I think it's also or it's more of like a from I think from our personal perspective, it's more of a perception. Like
right.
it's how we're seeing it more than what it actually is.
Mm,
So it I think it has to do more with our process. But do you
yeah.
want to share what you were
I
saying
mean,
with how you
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I told you so many times like how my vision, my perception of God from when I was little until just a few years ago was that every time terrible things were happening to me, and when I say terrible, I mean like huge life hiccups, like abuse, divorce, poverty, like, trouble with kids, like big things. And so I was always saw this happening from Hashem. So
okay,
that means that he was picking on me like a bully.
okay.
And then when things were quiet and calm and nothing bad was happening, I'm like, oh, he must be picking on someone else now. So just don't look my way, Hashem. Just leave me alone. Like that was
Yeah.
my
Okay, okay. But and these are like again, like when we talk about like inner children, I feel like that's also an interesting one because it's like Hashem, one of the ways one of the ways we relate to Hashem is as like a parent, right? And we have to kind of sometimes look at how those relationships were developed, right? If there was this kind of dysfunction or fear around this connection, right? So it's like going into an adult relationship. Some can be extremely dramatic and abusive, but when we do the work on ourselves and we clear things and we have more of a positive outlook, right? Because a lot of it is about thought and again, what we consume, right? It can change the perception and then we can build healthier relationships. So it's like what he's reminding us here is when it comes to like even if he says to cleave, it's like it's almost like when as Katie said with the attachment, it's like there's healthy attachment and then there's an unhealthy attachment. And for some of us, even our relationship with Hashem is like healthier, unhealthy attachments. And I think kind of going back into like even Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, like asking ourselves in our own kind of navigation, as we navigated through the Yontiff, if it was by ourselves or with the masses, what kind of deals or did we make with Hashem? Was there any place where we felt like we're gonna start trying to manipulate the relationship? Like, okay, Hashem, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna do this year. Like, give me this year. Like, what are the things we're like asking for, right?
Mhm.
Where it's not so much about it's more of like the narrative, focusing on the narrative of how we communicate through those conversations or in those conversations that will tell us a lot about our relationship with
Mm,
Hashem.
right.
So coming back to here, it's like, it's knowing that there's a sense of perfection and, balance. So I think continue the next paragraph there, and because it's that last little bit, and then um
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. There is a unique creature which stands balanced between the elements of perfection and the elements of deficiency, which in turn are the results of God's illumination or concealment. When this creature strengthens himself, striving for elements of perfection, incorporating them into his being, this in a way is a means of clinging to God. Blessed his name. Blessed be his name. As he is their root and source. The more elements of perfection this creature incorporates into itself, the stronger will be his association and bond to God. He becomes, so to speak, attached to God himself, deriving both pleasure and perfection from his goodness, while he is himself the master of this good and perfection, having acquired them by choosing them.
Okay. Did you get anything from that?
You know what? To me, it's like reading Shakespeare. Like I need a medrash to explain it to me. So you're my medrash.
I don't know if I'm the medrash in this because again, I'm a little rusty myself,
Oh, you
but
are, Esther.
definitely, definitely. Um, but
No, no, no. I didn't say you are
I am.
rusty.
No, no,
No,
I'm
I
saying
said
I'm
you
rusty.
are the medrash.
No, no, I'm
Case
not,
closed.
but I'm not. I'm not. Um, the thing as I'm like listening to you read it, what I'm thinking is like it's about attachment and trusting the process. Because if everything is perfect, it's like I think it's um my meditation teacher once gave us an analogy of meditation in general, and he said he was talking about cortisol levels, and he was talking about what we see is usually something that's not actually happening. Like it's an illusion. He was talking about illusions. And the way he described this was like a movie set. Oh, it's telling me that we have 10 minutes. So it's
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah,
So
okay.
basically what he was saying was it's like a movie set. What's going on camera is actually not what's going on. When you
Mhm.
step away from the camera, you'll see there's an entire crew. There's this entire staged experience, and what you're seeing is actually not what's going on. And I
Right.
feel like when we're saying this, it's like when we're reading through this, it's like Hashem sometimes chooses to reveal certain things
Mhm.
in certain times, and like we'll see only pieces of a certain process. Like I know for myself in the last few months, like it's taking me time to have all the facts. And one thing I've learned is not to try to manipulate processes. I've been working on it. I'm still not so good at it because I have a pushy nature and I am impatient. So I try to just get things done and I get really frustrated when things aren't done. But it was really interesting because as time went by, there's certain things that kind of need to happen. And I'm working on them, but like, we don't always have control. It was really interesting to get all the facts. Like as time went on, there was more revealed to me, right? As in what he's saying here, there was more revealed to me, which changes the dynamic entirely of that decision making.
Mhm.
Like decisions change the more facts there are. And then there was this thing of like, in a specific situation, is somebody gaslighting me, or is it somebody's sensitivities, or are they real facts? You
Mhm.
know? And so it's this evolution. And if we kind of jump on what we're feeling sometimes, and we're not in the place where we're like Hashem, when we have this concept where we're like Hashem, like we said in a few chapters, like earlier in the chapter, where like Hashem takes care of us, like He created us, He takes care of us. And that's kind of even through all the hardships that I went through in the last few months, that was something that kind of kept me going because I had to just trust the process, that there's a process here and there is a sense of perfection. It's just I happen to not be seeing it. And just because I'm feeling horrible and I'm feeling all over the place, it doesn't mean that there isn't a plan.
Right.
And that was the thing that kind of, when we start building, I think, that muscle, that centers us when things kind of, you know, start to spiral out of control.
That is so important. I feel like, you know what, you know, we have to self-soothe,
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
when there's no one else to help you, guide you, or get you off that, stress ride. I think that it is a muscle because I can't get there myself without being reminded from an outside source. Like you have to remind me like there is a plan. And then I'll be like, oh right, okay, let me get on that train. It doesn't go automatically for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't go automatically for any of us. We get wrapped up in it, but then it's like, I think it's a muscle, like a muscle. It's just something that shows up and reminds us and
Yeah.
rebalances us. So we can open it up. We can open it up maybe.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
you want to
let's
open
do
it
that.
up?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
give me a second here. Let me just unpin here. Give me a second. All right. Yeah. Okay, go for it. Shkadia, you wanted to add? Sorry. Hi, how are you?
Yes.
Hi.
Good morning for me. It's the morning in Los
Good
Angeles.
morning. Very
But
early there.
it's like
Yeah.
before I'm waking to the world, I like to learn to study. When I saw Esther with this idea of getting together, I said, okay, this is my warm up of the day. And I
Beautiful.
make sure that I always have a warm up, somehow a warm up. So I understand as of like seeing what happened in the last few days, and in America it's 2 days. It's not one day like in Eretz Israel. So I was reading somewhere something that gave me the courage to see things in an abundant way because
Okay.
I was hosted. So I saw that the peak of this simcha after a month and a half of just going through a lot of motions of cheshbon nefesh and whatever it is between us and our higher power Hashem, I noticed that there was so much good, and I hear now that the good comes in very many ways to different people. Some people just being by with their own listening to what's going on inside. I happen to be listening to the outside and then understanding that the abundant that is being sent in the last few days is just to shower on us how much love and how much good in these happiness we could actually be exposed. And sometimes it's like overwhelming, sometimes it's like too much, but yet it's to go out from being in a place that there is a lot of good, a lot of good. And what I learned the last few years is the idea to be here and now. And this here and now, when I hear it too, the way that both of you express those thoughts and feelings gives me even more of this place how honorable life is. We are actually honoring our life by being able to express it through words, through emotions, through being there. So I really want to thank you, and I want to share with you that this is here and now a place to smile and to say more and more thank you, thank you, thank you, because really the thank you that I have chosen to cling to Hashem and not to do nothing in the house per se, just to look at it, because I'm a little bit of this perfectionism and I worked very hard till the whole balloon was popped for me when I came back. I was 2.5 months in Israel with, doing some nice mitzvahs with my father, with the family. I realized that clinging to Hashem's ways, which is the 13 midot that we were exposed to the whole month of Elul, Hashem, Hashem, Rachum, V'chanun, everybody just does it to the best they can. And I used to do it to the more than the best I can, and it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. What really works is to do that, to know and to be wholesome with the idea that I did the best I can, but with boundaries. So I'm going into today, which is the first day after the Chagim. I'm going to actually utilize the idea that to be healthy and to be aligned, as I heard the word, and to be sane.
Yeah, 100%. We have about a minute. We have about a minute. So yeah.
Is actually what I'm hearing from the perfectionism that the higher power has. Because he is my higher power because of his perfectionism, not because of my interpretation.
One thing,
By this, I will.
One thing that I'll also share, I mean, we have about a minute. Something that in my practice that I've incorporated a few years ago already, and I've had to share it with somebody that's close to me that's really not feeling that well right now, is that Hashem created these perfect experiences for us. And most of the time we interrupt the experience by us trying. It's like, just don't, I said, if you want to heal, find the quiet, find the simplicity, and your body will do what it needs to do because Hashem does his thing without us even getting involved. So I always say, like, don't interrupt Hashem from loving you. And by us kind of jumping into wanting to be Hashem in the perfection, we end up hurting ourselves sometimes more than we end up actually healing ourselves.
Love that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to letting go or leave or let live, it's so real in my stage of life right now, because in Hasidus